What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Welcome to the show. As fans of the Star Wars universe, we're all, with the power of the Force and the epic battles that take place in a galaxy far, far away. But there is something unique about the Bad Batch that just sets it apart from other Star Wars projects. The animated series follows a group of genetically enhanced clones as they navigate their way through the aftermath of the Clone Wars. In this mid-season madness of season 2 that we just were introduced to, we got 2 episodes. 2 great episodes, in my opinion. They kept us on the edge of our seats. We got episode 7, the Clone Conspiracy, where they throw the Bad Batch into a web of intrigue to uncover a sinister plot that threatens to undermine everything. Then we got episode 8, Truth and Consequences, where our heroes are forced to confront the consequences of their actions that will impact the future of the galaxy, which was one hell of a twist. To celebrate this exciting journey, we are going to do some quizzes to test your knowledge about the Bad Batch, as well as our own. How well do we know the series? So get ready to put your knowledge to the test. And that's not all. We're also going to be exploring some trivia and behind-the-scenes facts about the making of the Bad Batch. Well, maybe not so much the making of the Bad Batch, but, some stuff that happened in the Bad Batch that we haven't seen in a while. And just, show the direction of this legendary Star Wars animation. We got to give it up to D. Bradley Baker for all he's doing. Brad Rule, who directed this episode. He have voiced everybody and how things are going. The Clone Wars animated series, there's just a few of the fascinating facts that we will uncover. So sit back and relax and join us as we dive into the world of the Bad Batch Season 2, mid-season doubleheader.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Last we will reveal ourselves.
I have a bad feeling about this.
You are now in LightSaber Radio. If you only knew the power of gods.
Here it comes. Let's go.
You are now tuned in to LightSaber Radio. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello there.
All right, we're all here. Well, CJ and Tori might be here.
Oh, there they go.
There they are. All right.
I thought y'all wasn't coming today.
No, the 15th.
Oh, the
Oh,
15th.
next week. No,
Next
Yeah.
week. Okay.
Cass's
That's
birthday.
next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So we got Infected, Clint's in the thing, Bodie's in the good. Bodie collection, body collection. We got to say it right, body collection though. What's up, Bodie?
What's
How
up,
you
Bodie?
doing? What's going on, everybody? Now, this was a spectacular storytelling episode. We actually got a story from for both episodes. They just flowed together so nicely, went together so just seamlessly, and the story was excellent. But there was a couple
Crazy.
things that I caught
Oh,
that
dude.
kind of irritated me just a little bit. And we're going to get into all that. But first, how's everybody doing today?
I'm good. Hey, it was a busy day, but I had enough time to carve out that time to watch Bad Batch, and I was pleased. I think it was the best episode we've had so far. So, put me in a good mood.
Yeah, I watched it twice, but I also didn't go to work today. I woke up, I had vertigo real bad, and I was all dizzy and shit. I've been feeling like crap all day. I slept for 6 hours today,
Right.
and then watched the episode twice. 2.5 times, because I watched the first episode the second time because it was something I was trying to figure out. But yeah, I liked them. So how was you and CJ Tori?
We're good. We just forgot to hardwire the internet back into the computer. We just realized that it wasn't hardwired in.
Oh, so you're on Wi-Fi?
Yeah,
And not even the brand new Wi-Fi that we just bought. It's the other one.
Oh, jeez.
Give me a
Well,
sec.
if you guys go in and out, y'all suck. No, I joke. I'm playing. Nah, they were this episode had a lot to offer,
Oh, yeah.
and then it just crushed you at the end. But I have to give it up to CJ. CJ was right. He said it last season. The Echo would be the first one to leave. He said he would be the first one.
Leaving.
He said he would be the first one to get killed, but leaving, getting killed,
Close
same
enough,
thing.
Close enough, right?
Yeah, close enough. He was right, and we got to give it to CJ. We got to give him props on that. That he was he said that. I actually went back and I listened to the episodes where we did on the first Bad Batch, and he did say it. He said Echo was going to be the first one to go.
It's still going to be weird only having 3 of them in the Bad Batch. I don't know, like
It won't be for long. The way I was taking it, there's only 2 ways this can go. You can kill Echo while he's with Rex, because Rex is technically the only survivor. Which is what I think
is going to happen.
Which Rex is the only survivor going into the Battle of Endor that we know of. George Lucas was like, yeah, that's Rex, the guy with the white beard, kind of looking like Tim a little bit, if you really look at it. I'm thinking either Echo dies while with Rex, or he comes back to the Bad Batch and Crosshair shoots him. Or, and this is a crazy one if they don't want to get us all emotional and pissed off, they just leave him the hell alone.
No, hide this bullshit. I don't want to freaking...
Hi, Spam.
Talking about get some chat bots. We want some chat bots. What are chat bots? What are they supposed to do?
Oh, yeah. I have
It
no idea.
hypes up the chat by fake people.
But we
Why
don't
the hell would you
respond.
want to do that? How the hell do you get them off of here? No, I don't want to do that.
It's like buying viewers, basically.
Why? So you can get kicked off of YouTube and everything?
Nah, so
Them
can look more
motherfuckers, man.
popular than
Google
you
got
are.
the best security on the planet.
Yeah.
You can't get away with
You
shit
can
like
pay
that.
for your friends instead of having real ones.
You don't need to
Money
flash me
can
back
buy
to middle
happiness.
School. You're fine.
Why the hell I can't delete this shit?
Because
You've
it's
been
on
hacked.
Twitch.
Usually I can put them into time
Yeah,
out.
because those are on YouTube. That's on Twitch.
Oh, whatever. Anyway, please don't offer us promos for fake viewers and followers and viewers and chat bots and all that weird shit.
Yeah, Bodhi's all natural, baby.
Yeah.
All right. But
The Clone War with the Stormtroopers is going to happen. I think I do believe
I don't
that's
think
it. And
I don't think they're going that
they
direction.
confirmed today's episode that Omega is not force sensitive. Because when she's sitting at the beginning and she's sitting there meditating, she was like, "It's just not working. I don't know why it doesn't work, because you're not force sensitive." You're just...
and he's like, the Wookiee was a Jedi. She goes, I still like it.
it doesn't work for non-Jedi people. So I don't think she's force sensitive. I think they kind of confirmed that in today's episode. Yeah, there was the only thing.
I
Go
viewed
ahead.
it as the opposite. Like, why else would they make a big deal about a scene where she's trying to meditate, unless it was they're gonna bring it up later. I think.
No, they won't. I think it was honestly, Garrison. I think it was meaningless. I think it was to spoof all the fans that had that theory going through their mind.
Oh, you think so?
I think it was
Maybe.
just the nod. I think it was a little subtle nod to the fans, like, "Cool, I'm glad you thought she was force sensitive, but sorry guys, she's not.
But you're
She's
wrong,
a clone."
bitch.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It just seems like there's been a lot of speculation on that, and I think they kind of were like, let's just put it in the episode to get rid of the speculation so people can, concentrate on the other things that need to be concentrated on. And there was a lot of stuff because we seen
the political
Clone
shit in
X.
this episode.
Clone X, that dude was dope. He's a good ass sniper. There's no information on on that dude at all, other than he bit down on something electric and shocked his brain and killed himself. We have some reoccurring people that we haven't got to see in a long time since Clone Wars. which was nice to have in it. The story was just the dope thing, and I love the way the Palpatine played it all out. He played that shit like a fiddle. You know what I'm saying? He played that shit excellent, and that
Dude,
I think that was like my favorite part to bring in the thing. Like he knew.
Yeah. I think my favorite part kind of had just to do with it, and it was so sad because like you're expecting this as a kid show, right? And you see Omega at the end of the episode look up and said, "But we told the truth and we did what was right. How come we still lost?" And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like that, you're breaking it to the kid for the first time that sometimes doing what's right and being the good guy doesn't mean you win. Sometimes bad guys win. Sometimes life sucks. Life isn't fair. And I was like, I don't know, that just hit me where I was like,
it made it seem more realistic. It made it seem like it was more real world than just an animated cartoon for children. I'm not going to say it was adult, but at the same time, it's like something that children need to understand that everything doesn't always work out perfect.
But that was real. Like, no matter how good you are, no matter whether you're doing what's right, like, sorry, that's not how the world works. Doesn't matter if you're doing what's right or not. Shit doesn't work out sometimes. Like,
well, I mean, and we see that in everyday, we see it in politics all the time. You know, we vote for these politicians and then they come in and then they do exactly the opposite of what the hell they said they was going to do when we voted them in. Mm-hmm. And it just creates a realistic format, which kids need to understand. Plus, some adults need to understand that. Some adults just think that, you know what I'm saying, as long as I'm a good guy, that everything's going to go right. And the world don't work like that all the time. There's a lot of times. Yeah.
And as sad as it is to say that, like, that's what real life is, dude. Real life isn't all roses and happy endings. Real life is a bitch.
Yeah, it's, you know, it I don't know. It just captivated. The story line together just captivated. You got these clones, and it's kind of like the veterans in America. They go, they fight in these wars and for our freedoms and to protect us and all this stuff, and then they get back and they get treated like shit. And they're kind of given that same philosophy, which in the Clone Wars, I mean, with the clones. Because they went out here and fought, and now they're just getting shoved to the side for this new initiative. Mm-hmm. And it's really crazy when you think about it because that's real life. You know, it's happening right now. I didn't ever think that I swore I was one of those people like, please don't bring politics into Star Wars. But you got to understand, even George did it. You know, he brought politics into these dictators and stuff that are trying to control the world, and then you have some small, force out there fighting, even though America doesn't have a very good track record of being small or fighting very well, because we done lost like the last 3 wars we've been in. But, it just shows that thing. And then it kind of shows, how manipulation is done. Because Palpatine manipulated the shit out of them. Like the shit out of them.
Oh yeah, played him like a fiddle.
Like for the reals, like I was like, holy crap! When he came in and said, "This is what I think we should do because we need to have stormtroopers," which that's one of the trivias. But it was just like, damn man, dude, they won. They did everything right, and he still wins. Like Palpatine is the master of manipulation, and he manipulates everybody, everybody at one time. It's not like he just manipulating a couple people.
Right.
That dude's a true manipulator. He manipulates the entire galaxy time and time again.
But it also shows like it reflects the real world. Like, dude, that's what happens. People take advantage of you, and even when you're doing what's right, they manipulate you. And like, I don't know, it was gritty and it was real. And that's what made it hit so hard today, I think.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And Bodhi says, I don't know why that I thought that was the new suit for Crosshair, LL. I thought the same thing.
Oh, for a second. I thought, whoa.
I thought the exact same thing. I thought it was Crosshair until he pulled off the mask or opened up the little helmet. I thought it was Crosshair.
I'm gonna be dead honest. Didn't think it was. The only reason why I didn't think it was Crosshair is the rifle. I looked at the rifle and then I went back and I looked at Crosshair's rifle in other episodes and I'm like, he'd never used that. He's so attached to his gun because he's used it since he became a part of the Bad Batch. Why would he change it up now? You know, it's not. Nobody's going to discover who he is because everybody thinks the Bad Batch is dead and that he's a part of the Bad Batch. The only people that know are people that are part of that squadron.
I got you. I guess that makes sense. I don't know.
I don't know. When I just seen him and like he just kept hitting people like right in the damn heart. Like damn, like that's Crosshair. Yeah. Crosshair's murking everybody. But then I kind of thought it wasn't him. I'm like, dude, this dude's missing a lot. Like Crosshair don't miss that damn much. You know what I'm saying? Crosshair is dope.
Yeah, it wasn't like lasting, but it was at first. I was like, wait a second. Then I was like, oh wait, maybe not. You know. But
at first, I thought it was him. I was like, oh, Crosshair's murking people. They got him a new suit. It's all dope. Got some new shit on it. Like, he's killing everybody. It's about to be, they're going to bring the Bad Batch in the second part. He going to kill, I thought he was going to kill Echo. I thought Echo was going to die in this thing. I don't know. I just had a feeling that Echo was not making it out of this episode. I mean, and he didn't die, but he did kind of lead the Bad Batch. So we'll see. We'll see. He'll be back within this, but he's going to be back with Rex.
You think so? You think he's not going to die?
No.
I think he might die by the end of the season, but I don't think he's going to die.
He dies,
I don't think he's going to join the Bad Batch again. I think he'll come back with Rex maybe, and Rex and them will have something else, to do, and then he'll come back in on. He'll come back in, but I don't think he makes it to the end of the season. That's just my personal thought.
I liked seeing Senator Chuchi.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen her since season 3. When Obi-Wan and Anakin and Rex and the 501st.
Oh, yeah.
Liberated that moon.
I don't even. That's from season 3 of the Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, and I haven't even seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, they went to this planet that the moon, that the Senate didn't have power over because it was uninhabited. Well, when they went there, they found out it was habited, that there was a native species to that planet, and
the senator tried. Oh, it wasn't the senator. He wasn't a senator. He was
Lord.
He wasn't even a lord. He was part of her war table. He was part of their fucking war table, and he wanted to pretty much kill them, these species.
Yep.
And take over the planet. And it was like, no. And then he ends up dying. They end up killing him. And Rex and Senator Chuchi and everybody's like, well, oh well.
Yeah, Senator Chuchi got him removed from power.
Yeah,
she was super super scared of him at first, and then as the episode goes, there's Anakin and Obi-Wan sitting there trying to telling her hey, we can't do anything at this point. If you want to do something, it has to be done on your time. Garrison needs to suck it up and watch Clone Wars. I say we vote on it.
I think we should. All in favor?
Aye.
You're fucked, bud.
I don't give a shit, dude. I don't give a shit what y'all say. I didn't agree to this.
You don't have to.
It's for the fans, Garrison.
And I'm watching Bad Batch for the fans. I was watching fucking Rebels for the fans.
Hey, Rebels is good. Shit.
Haven't seen it.
Rebels is probably the best.
Let's vote. Who wants to watch Rebels?
We'll watch Rebels. That's next. She's watching all the cartoons now. You
gotta, even if you're not a cartoon person, you gotta watch all the cartoons so you know who all the characters is. Because there's something like 263,000 Star Wars characters, And you got to watch all the damn cartoons and everything to know who all these characters are, because that's when they popped up most.
I got this book on Audible, and you guys are going to kill me for saying this. It makes the Rise of Skywalker make more sense.
Fuck you. I'm just kidding.
It does. So
I listened to the audiobooks, all three of the dramatic, the dramatic versions of them. They're better on the books. They're way better.
No. This is prelims, like Force Awakens. All this, it explains Lando's kid going missing, which we see in Rise of Skywalker, the Sith blade, all these things. Like when we see the Sith person that stabs Rey's parents, his name's Ochi.
Yeah, that's in
it's in the movie.
What's in shit? It's in what's the name of the damn book? My brain ain't working.
No idea.
It's Shadows of something. I know that.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm listening to.
Yeah,
and it makes
to it all.
Shadows of the Sith, I believe it is.
Yeah,
Shadows
and
of
it
Mordor.
makes that's a good game, but no. But no, and it makes I know this isn't a Bad Batch topic, but it makes the movie make sense.
I mean, I
Because
don't
if
know
you
if it
listen,
made the
well, if
movie
you
make
listen,
sense. They should have made that a movie, because the book was way
The book was
better than that
amazing.
movie.
but if
Shit,
you
even the
listen to
audio
book,
books of the dramatization audio books of the movies are way better than the actual movies, because they
But if-
explain more.
if me listening to this book, I'm not even done with it yet. I'm almost done with it.
Have you got
but
to the
let's-
part where he goes to the planet that they can't breathe on and shit with the chick
No,
and the
damn
robot?
you!
Oh yeah, wait till you get to that part. It's great.
But the stuff we're seeing, like what we see in 7, 8, and 9, makes it make sense, and it actually it's fluid in the book. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Lando's daughter going missing, cool. Luke going to exile, like the reason why is because he saw this coming. From what I'm catching so far, he saw this coming, couldn't stop it. Nephew turned. What we're seeing in Force Awakens, not much in The Last Jedi, but the rest we see in the Rise of Skywalker is just, it's making it make sense, and I actually really like it. So I don't
You
know.
get a chance, listen to the I can't say the damn dramatized version of the audio books of the actual movies. They're way better because they explain more. They just tell the story better than what we see on screen, which most books do anyway. Because
Right.
I can't stand the Twilight Saga. The movies suck, but the books are amazing. I listen to all
What?
5 of the books. The books are amazing.
I read
He's a Twilight reader. What? Kyle's
didn't
a
read that
chick?
shit.
I'm just kidding.
I listen to that shit.
Like, don't act all macho. We know you like we know you like those Barbie.
Hey, I
books
like
back then.
all the fight scenes, especially in the last movie when all the vampires are fighting with the werewolves and all that shit.
That's
shit's
not
pretty
even
dope.
in the book, though.
Yeah, it's not in the book, but it's still better. The books is way better. They explain more. I thought about listening to the Harry Potter books first and then watch the movies again, because I've already watched the movies once, but I don't remember none of that shit. I'm gonna
I
listen to
highly
the books.
recommend. I highly recommend hitting the books before you watch the movies.
Because
He's already watched the movies.
I went through all. I listened
I
to all the
highly
Anne Rice
recommend
books.
saving yourself the time and just not.
Like, listen to the Anne Rice interview with the vampire books. Oh my God, some of the greatest books of all time.
I
you
prefer
really
to.
So good.
I prefer to read books before I watch movies. Like if there's something coming out that's based on a book, and I think that the movie trailer looks really good, I'll look for the book and I'll read the book before I watch the movie, because it's really fun to get your own vision in your head of how the storyline goes and get your own characters built up in your head, and then watch the movies and see how the things have changed. What are you looking for?
The remote. Sorry, TV went off.
I do agree with Infected, because Revenge of the Sith, the novel,
Oh man,
one of
That
the
is
best
a
pieces
beautiful
of
Yep.
books.
Star Wars literature, Star Wars creation ever. That
I
book
mean,
is so good.
And I've listened to Thrawn. I've listened to almost I'll give it 80% of the Star Wars books. Revenge of the Sith, I will sit there and probably listen to on repeat because of how beautifully written it was and how in depth, like that the monologue, or not the monologue, but the part in the book where Anakin comes back after Obi-Wan visits Padme. He describes the smell he leaves behind and where he was sitting and how
You would like
frustrating
that,
it
wouldn't
is.
you, CJ? I'm just kidding.
How frustrating it is that he came here instead of coming to him, and how he was alone with his wife, alone with Anakin's wife without Anakin being there and all this shit. Like that part of the book was really good because you can sense the betrayal that Anakin thinks is coming. And it was very apparent in that whole part of that book.
And Infected, yes, correct. Kyle, if you are going to listen to the Harry Potter books, make sure that it is narrated by Stephen Fry. Jim Dale just kind of drones.
I don't know. Some of those Star Wars books just have the worst people reading them.
Yeah.
And the
Only
other
one I
ones
didn't
have
really
amazing
like is
books.
old girl. Is it Ashley Eckstein when she does Ahsoka? I didn't like that. The Ahsoka book. That's the only book that I really listened to that was just like, oh my god.
I like when they bring in
Shit.
different. I like when they bring in different actors to do different parts in the book.
That's so CJ, like we share an Audible account, so like CJ will be like, oh hey, I put this book on here and I need you to read it. Like I think that you'd really like this book. And it's not that I don't like listening to books. I grew up listening to books. Like my mom would always have a book cassette in the car growing up, and so I would always listen to books going places.
The ages before Audible.
I just prefer to have there's something different about having it in front of you and being able to read it. I prefer. That's why I have all of my books.
Same way, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love reading a book if I want to go to sleep.
He looked at me the other day because we went to Antique World here. It's just this huge basic thrift store, basically, and it's huge. But I grabbed a book off one of these shelves and I opened it and I smelled it. And he's like, "Are you really smelling that book right now?" And I was like, "It's an old book. It has old book smell. Leave me alone."
Wow.
Yeah,
She's my weirdo.
I don't
Fun
empathize
fact,
with
guys,
that
my
necessarily,
weirdo.
but-
Okay, old books, I'm talking the old books, the ones that you can tell have been
Sat in the
around
library?
for 5,000
I know what
years
you're
or
talking
whatever.
about.
It has that dusty old
Grandpa
paper.
smell?
I love it. It's my dopamine.
Did you hear me?
Yes.
The grandpa smell.
Grandpa smell.
Set in Grandpa's
Got a
Ford
thing for
Taurus.
grandpas.
It's-
What'd you say?
it's-
Grandpa's Ford Taurus?
Yeah, it's just set in Grandpa's Ford Taurus. His 90s Ford Taurus. His 99 four-door fucking forest green Ford Taurus.
No, the 76.
You're getting oddly specific there,
No,
my dude.
the 76
So, hold on.
Vista
There-
Cruiser.
No, my grandfather never had a Vista Cruiser, but he had a 99 forest green Ford Taurus. And the man had books in it. You get in his car and it smelled like old newspapers and his Pepsi. It was just apparent.
That I got a new book the other day and it was gone that night. It's a decent sized book and I blew through it. And he's like, Jesus Christ.
Only book that I've ever actually read the entire book. I've only read 3 entire books. I actually read the whole thing. And that was the Bible, the Quran, and the Book of Buddhism. That's the only 3 books that I've ever read the entire book. I can't read.
Wow.
If I start reading, I'm gonna go to sleep. I can't sit there and read an entire book. I'll go to sleep.
Hey, but if you're gonna read, if you're gonna choose any books to read, those aren't the worst ones. I mean,
The watch party is the 19th. No, not the 19th. The week after the 19th.
The 19th. No, it's the week of the 19th. It's the 19th.
Oh, it is the 19th.
Yeah, I agree with Infected Actual. It's just hard to find time now, so that's why you just go to audiobooks.
Like it's so much easier because like when I'm at work, I throw in an earpiece and I'm just listening to the book. And when I did deliveries for GE for all those years, I mean, we were doing new apartments. We carry everything up, put everything in the units, and then we had to install them all. So you could just throw on an audio book. You're working for 10, 12 hours a day.
Right.
You can kill a book a day. That's how I got through all the Star Wars books. Because I have every Star Wars book ever written. Ever.
That's a flex.
I have the audio version, and if I don't have the audio version of it, I have the regular book. And then I'll let the fucking stupid ass robotic computer thing read it to me because if I don't do it, then I just can't sit there and read the book because I'll go to sleep. Like the books that I've read, that I read all the way through, and then it's just because it was something that interested me, and plus I was in school at the time. I mean, I read some books on like Latin and different stuff like that, and archaeology and shit like that, but I never actually read the whole entire book. I'll flip a couple pages, like, all right, this part's boring, let me get to some interesting shit, skim through it. But the Bible, the Quran, and the Book of Buddhism, I read the entire books.
Yeah, like I read through the Book of the Sith while I was working at the vape shop. I was working at the vape shop, and I'm not even kidding you. I was
like,
the book.
I read these deep religious texts, and you're like, I read religious texts too once. It's called the Book of the Sith.
Right? Yeah. But like I was reading it, and actually a couple people came in, and they're like, "Are you reading a Star Wars book?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's the Book of the Sith." They're like, "No way, that's so cool!" And that's
actually. To be honest, the first book I ever read was a Star Wars book, and it was the only book that I ever read the entire book. Then I then I listened to the audio book. Then I wrote a book report on it, and then I got like an A because it interested me. Everything else I was like, man, I ain't doing this shit.
Yeah,
right.
I'm kind of like infected. I lived in my library, like in my local library when I was younger. I would ride my bike to the library in the morning when it would open, and then I would spend all day at the library, and then I would stay until closing, and I would just do that every single day.
Nerd. Okay.
Yeah, I used to go to the library and beat up people. That's why I used to go rob the little nerd kids from at the library.
Steal their lunch money.
No, actually, I used to
jokes on you. We never had lunch money.
I didn't
for the library pass.
I didn't do that. What I used to do, this is how I used to make money in school. I used to get like gum and candy and shit, and I sell it. Get like the 5 cent pack of gum that are like $1 now. the little 5 stick pieces of gum, I sell them for like 50 cents. And Jolly Ranchers and shit and suckers and shit. That's how I did when I was in like elementary school and middle school. When I got to high school, I started selling cigarettes.
He's like, he moved up to the big boys candy.
Sold cigarettes and weed.
There you go.
That's what I'm just gonna start saying.
Can I sell you some death sticks?
Why are we talking about cigarettes?
Ah! She didn't even have her headset on. That was good.
Cancer sticks?
Death sticks.
But
I remember eating like the candy cigarettes. I don't think they have those anymore, but they were like literal sugar sticks. Yeah. Now,
to go off of what something that CJ said earlier, like the ones that have different actors for everything, the Battle of Jeddah, the new Star Wars, the High Republic book, it's a great book, but there was too much shit going on. They were talking over each other, like, because they're trying to, like, act out each part and everything. That shit was terrible, man. It was, like, one of the hardest books to I had to listen to it twice so I could understand what was going on.
Really? That bad, huh?
Yeah, it was just so cluttered, and you got bombs and shit going off in the back with all the sound effects, and there was nobody that was, like, narrating the book. So there wasn't like nobody telling the story of what's going on. It was just shit was just happening, like, and then it was jumping all around. I was like, what the hell is going on? That was a very hard book to understand. Like I literally listened to it twice.
Okay, I do take back my earlier statement because now everybody has me thinking about it. I have listened to audiobooks, and it's usually when I'm trying to read another book, I'll throw in a headphone, and so I'll read one
the
book
hell do
and
you do
listen
that?
to the other one.
Like, oh God, that would
This
be so
woman,
confusing.
I'm gonna tell you right
That
now.
sounds like ADHD. That sounds like something.
I actually do have ADHD.
No,
Sounds like
that's the reason you have
narcolepsy. I mean,
ADHD. That sounds like something that would give someone ADHD.
Yeah, but that I can't. I can't even listen to shit when I'm writing or when I'm trying to do shit. I can't do it. I got to focus on what I'm doing. Because if not, I'll get distracted and be doing some other shit.
My ADHD is so bad that I have to have that outside stimulation while I'm doing something else. Like it drives CJ nuts because I'll have
I bet it does.
I'll have the TV going on in the background on a show that I like. Like I'll have like Law and Order SVU or the Clone Wars or something going on. And CJ's like, "Hey, I want to play Madden. Like I'm going to take over the TV." And I was like, "No, I'm watching this." And he's like, "You're reading a book. How are you watching this?" It's like, "Hey, leave me alone." Don't judge
My
me.
ADHD works in a different way, but that's because, well,
I don't feel bad. My wife will be watching a movie or a TV show. She'll be watching TikTok or Instagram. She'll be on her computer watching some shit on YouTube all at the same time and understand exactly what's going on and everything. I'll be like, what the fuck?
That's me.
I can't even pay attention to you paying attention to all three of these things.
All right.
Okay.
What do we write this episode?
What do we?
We're getting off track.
Well,
Okay.
episodes.
I
Episodes,
would.
that's right.
We're gonna rate them together since basically there's just one show. I don't know why they called them two different things. Because the clone conspiracy would have fit all three of them. It would both of them. I got to go over some of the things I didn't like. One of the parts that just freaking irritated the shit out of me. When they're landing on the platform, you hear it go cocoon, and then they sail down, and then the landing gear comes out, and it does it again. Cocoon. Shit drove me nuts. I was like, oh God, somebody fucked up bad. So, because you can distinctly hear it happen twice. They land twice. And it's like, oh my God. So that pissed me off.
It's just the mechanics settling.
Then the other thing that passed me off, old girl, the tall chick, whatever the hell they're called.
the senator from the Kamino.
The
Kamino
That bitch is
chick,
dead.
yeah.
She died in the Clone Wars. So she was murdered in the Clone Wars. So I don't know how the hell she's still alive right now.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that's another thing that bothered the shit out of me.
Motherfucker.
well, they pulled a Palpatine with her. Okay, it's fine.
Somehow she returned.
So that bothered me. But other than that, everything else I loved. It was great. I loved that they brought back. I love this was the first time that we got Bail Organa in the Bad Batch, which was super excellent. I've been waiting to see him come back, which we knew he had to because he's a senator that's basically heading up the fucking rebellion. So we knew that he had to come back. I like to see the thing. I like to see what's going on with the clones. I thought the storyline was just very, very right to the point and directive on what's happening and how it led all the way up. I love the part that Rampage got screwed over by the Emperor. I was following orders. Oh, you're a bitch.
Thank you.
You got used. I like the fact that this is the first time in the Bad Batch that the word Stormtrooper was used. What else? And I like the part that I liked that it was heartfelt at the end with Echo leaving and the way that Omega reacted to him leaving. She truly looks at the good in everybody, and she's truly trying to be an overall good person. And we need that. We need that type of character in animation and in live action and everything. Them are the characters that make things worth watching. So I'm going to give it an 8.5. I was going to go 9, but them two things fucked me up. I'm doing them together, yeah. I'm giving both of the episodes a 9.
Okay.
Or no, 8.5. I would say a 9, but 9.5 is the highest I can ever go, but they had two things wrong with it. Them two things bothered the shit out of me, so I had to drop back down to 8.5.
8.5 for Kyle.
I
CJ.
think, honestly, what's going on, Chris? I think that it was one of the best episodes that we've got so far.
It's
The
the
two
best
episodes put together.
one. Oh no, it's hands down the best one we've got so far. I would agree with
What?
that.
Garrus,
What?
you just
CJ.
spazzed out and you were slow and
Did
then
I?
yeah, you were popcorny and then it sped up while it was popcorny.
Someone who wanted to do superhuman.
Yeah, kind of like that.
But more.
That's because he's
I
putting in on
can't do
scores in the computer, so he
laptop.
opened up another screen. Everybody knows it.
Yes,
Garrison's
I did,
other
I did.
screen makes his laptop act freaking nuts.
I know.
It really looks like
My
you
bad.
got horns
All
coming
right.
out of your head with that fucking thing in the background.
I know. I love it. That's why I keep sitting here.
Here goes your 3.3
All right,
on these
CJ,
episodes.
what do you think?
Your 3.3 with your devil
I'm not
horns
going-
in the background.
You go. What do you think? Once again. What about you, Kyle?
Kyle already he just
I just said mine. I said 8.5 for the
Just
two of them together.
finished.
Together, it's
Right over my head.
8.5.
Didn't even. Yep.
you need another rock star?
No, I need.
That's probably the problem. He drank too many of rock
All right,
stars,
I'll
and now
go
it's
next
like,
then. I'll go next.
Thank you.
So I agree with Kyle. I think it's the best one we've had so far. Couple things wrong with it. Like it's not perfect, but dang, it was pretty good. So I'd agree with an 8.5. It was definitely the best
You're
Bad
on
Batch that
point.
we've gotten so far.
I don't know. Episode 3 was pretty hard to beat. That episode was just good. I
Which one
like
was
that
episode
episode.
3?
So
The one
episode
you didn't
3 was
like.
the one.
Was that
No,
the
episode
stupid
3
exploring treasure one?
No, that was like episode
Oh.
5.
Oh, okay.
Episode 3 was the one with Crosshair in it. The one that didn't have the Bad Batch.
Yeah. And I remember
That was a pretty good episode.
Stupid how it like
I
was
didn't watch
bouncing
that
off shit. Well, I had that one in an 8 though, so I mean,
I think I put that one as an 8 too, but this one I think
Yeah.
was just a little bit.
This one
because
was
you
so
got
much
two of
better.
them together, so it was a longer storyline. It kind of and it really built up that anticipation of what was going to happen. It made you feel good watching it, like, oh, what's going to happen? Oh, are they going to kill him? Oh, where's
I
the
was
dude
like
at?
into this episode too.
Yeah,
The first
I
one
liked
where
it.
I've literally been into it, like, holy shit, what's gonna happen? Before
I-
the
I-
other
Chris
ones,
said
it's just kinda
8.
been like,
I was watching.
Dr. Skywalker 716, what's up? I don't know if we said what's up to you, but he said 9.5. Bodie said 8 for both.
We're voting as one, Bodie.
I would one of us. I was watching it while I was making fried pickles.
that
And I really
sounds-
enjoyed it. I didn't have like obviously like the straight focus to it, but I really enjoyed it. I liked, opening up.
I enjoy
Let's-
fried pickles too, Tori.
It's been a day. My mind has been everywhere. Leave me alone.
No, I'm dead serious. I fucking love fried pickles. I didn't know you could make them at home.
Yeah.
Hello there to you. I can't not say your name.
El Gaglo.
Why?
El Gaglo 16.
Oh,
The Gaglo 16.
Giggity.
Don't even. No,
Gallo.
guys.
Galaga.
All right. Please
I
continue.
really enjoyed it. I'll just 8.
8.
Ah.
All right.
You guys suck. I'm giving that a 9.5. I freaking loved it. I loved every aspect of this story.
The episode hit, and he's like, Coruscant.
Yeah, the second I saw Coruscant, I got excited. I was like, no freaking way.
Dude,
And we
I still don't
we
get.
got to see the clone bar.
I still don't
and
get how they
I
went.
knew you would love that. As soon as you saw the clone bar, I knew you would be like sold.
No, because like in Clone Wars, you see it when Tup goes haywire and 5 goes to try to like tell people like, hey, we got inhibitor chips in our brain that are making us kill Jedi. We're bad people, kind of shit. And Tup goes and hides out and tries to tell people, and that's where they find, or not Tup, but that's where 5 Fives?
Fives.
Yeah, fives
Tuck
goes.
st-
I had
or
to think
Tuck-
about that.
Tuck
Tuck dies. Yeah.
Five survives.
Yeah.
Until he's
Murked.
shot. Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, I enjoyed that because, like, we only saw it once before that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, I'm glad you brought that back. I'm glad that's a piece of, like, I'm glad that's not just pre-Disney. I'm glad Disney was like, hey, this would make sense. Let's throw this in there. Like, I'm glad they've really thought about that and was like, hey, thank you for actually giving that nod to a previous season, you know, where all the clones go and hang out and BS and talk about the dark shit they do. Like, thank you.
Dude, I'm still surprised. Like I ranked it higher than I've ranked any other cartoon, bro.
And we're
like,
proud of you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
And you're
But
like,
that's-
come on, man.
But no, like, you
I'm
know, you
proud
get
of
the
myself
clone
right
bar, you get the sisters garage shop that we see in season 7 of Clone Wars. That's where Rex takes Clone X, as you would say, and was gonna torture him. I know Rex wasn't gonna torture him, but it really came off as like a torture-esque kind of situation until he
torture the motherfucker.
I would have pulled all his teeth out just in case he would have done that. That's I've seen way too many movies where people like bite into cyanide stuff. Like, the first thing I'm doing is I'm pulling out all the bottom teeth because you ain't biting into shit. Like, you're gonna gum it out. Like, you're gonna tell me in a lispy ass tone what the hell's going on here. Like, but no, I like that. I love Rex. I love seeing Rex. That is always gets me excited. And I like the fact that Echo was like, I had my time with the Bad Batch. My best friend, my ride or die, the guy that rescued me and made sure to come get me and get me out of there, that was so set on getting me out of here, needs me. He needs more help, and I'm willing to help him. And that's what I think that's probably like.
Yeah. And not only was Rex so adamant about going and getting him, but he also was the one to say, you know, if this is where you belong, then go. If this is where, like, I'll miss fighting with you, but go where you feel comfortable. And that he gave him his blessing basically to leave.
He gave Dobby a sock.
Master has given Dobby a sock.
But no, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that because it's like, that's really awesome that like Echo was like, hey man, you gave me this choice. I lived with this choice. I suffered a lot through this choice. I also benefited a lot off this choice. Now you need me. You're suffering. You're struggling. You need more people to back you up and save some people. I got you. It's my turn to help you out like you helped me out. And I love that feeling that gave you. The sniper thing, like, I love Rex coming out of nowhere, coming out of the shadows in his poncho. It was probably the funniest thing I watched. Like, I'm thinking, oh great, Senator Chuchi dies. Like, I was so convinced she's getting shot. Like, she's getting shot right in the face. Like, no mercy. And Rex comes out and just it pulls a Rex. And it was just, all right. I'm not mad. I love seeing Rex. I also thought that girl was going to get murked, but I mean, it's one or the other here.
Okay, so here's my thing. So we saw Obi using the shadows in Obi-Wan. Did he learn the shadow thing from Rex, or did Rex learn the shadow thing from Obi-Wan?
I think Rex learned from Anakin.
Oh yeah, he did also play in the shadows.
But yeah, no. There's just so much I loved about this. I love that they got to throw in the Coruscant training facility and you see the wall of lost soldiers. You know, I think.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
I love seeing that. I loved seeing it when we saw it in episode 3, when Cody's sitting there looking at names and is talking to Crosshair. I loved that nod when we first saw it. Like, it was. There's so much to this that I enjoyed, and that's why I gave it such a high score. And people can bag on it. People can nitpick. People can say I'm crazy for ranking it that high, but that's just how I feel about it. I'm also a big clone guy, so anything.
As long as you didn't rate it a 10. If you just said 10.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing.
Because then we would have had a discussion. 9.5.
Yes.
You liked it. You liked it.
Yeah, you
I
really
really
liked it.
I really
I-
liked it.
But the thing is, like going into it, like as soon as I was watching, I was like, CJ's gonna like this episode. CJ's gonna love this episode.
Well, and like we got to see Rex. Now, will we see Wolf? Will we see Cody? Will we see Gregor? We saw Gregor last season, but we don't know where Gregor's at now. Maybe he's with Rex. Maybe he's helping the rebellion kind of do some things because he is a commando, and he is very good at this thing called war. But I would like to see more famous clones be kind of introduced per se, like getting Wolf free or finding out where Wolf's at. Like getting that, like you give us a Rex show of him liberating clones, and I'd watch that shit. Like,
Well, so some of the trivia about this episode: 79 is a clone trooper Cantina. First appeared in the 6th season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. That was his first appearance.
That's the bar you were talking about, yeah?
Yeah, the bar 70. It's the 79s.
Bar.
That's
Clone
what it's called,
bar.
the 79s?
It's called the 79s. Yeah,
Okay.
79 apostrophe S.
Dr. Skywalker a while ago, I saw it. He asked if anybody here was into Star Wars Legions. Yes. CJ and I actually went over to my sister and my brother-in-law's house and we played it. And now I think I'm going to have to start buying kits.
The Imperial Senate design scene in this episode takes the original Republic Senate location seen in Star Wars and the Clone Wars and brings the design closer to it as it is seen in Andor. So they tried to do a mix-up of the two. So they tried to make it look more like Andor with the cartoon look. So if you look at the picture, if you go back and you look at the picture of when Bail Organa is standing there, and then you look at the way it looks in Andor when what's her face is standing there, and you can see the resemblance of it, the way they made it look, to try to make it look more like Andor than they had it in like the Clone Wars.
real fast, did anybody else think when we saw that R2 unit, it was R2 himself at first?
I did at first.
No.
I literally was thinking,
I did
R2, you sneaky little shit,
You sneaky
doing stuff for Bail Organa. Man, you've been keeping secrets since the beginning. Like,
Well, that's and
the more you know.
I mean, and we also talked about that in our own little conversation as we were watching it. It was nice to see just how back into the rebellion Bail went, because we knew that he had been talking to Padme, because it's in a deleted scene how Padme and Bail were sitting there talking about,
Right.
yeah, and it was nice to kind of. This episode gave a little bit nod and went even a little bit further into that backstory of Bail Organa being this rebel creator, essentially.
Another thing that I don't know if y'all really caught, I didn't catch it the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, that it was kind of funny that even after the Clone Wars, the Commissions Guild and the Banky Clan, former separatist corporations, both held their seats in the Imperial Senate, which was like, dude, you guys are the bad guys. So why are you?
Well, I mean, it's just same thing happened at the end of Civil War.
Yeah,
Like, so I guess it happens in real life too.
something that we kind of brought up before. The Pantarian Senator Chuchi first appeared in the first season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
First
And
season?
now an elder. She was in season 1 of Clone Wars.
Season 3. My bad.
And she might have been in season 3, but her first appearance was in season 1 of the Clone Wars. And Churchy continues to fight for what they believe in the Imperial Senate.
Hey, Lenny.
Yo.
At least you got food in you. It's okay. Better late than never.
As in episode 3 of this season, this installment does not and then this is for episode 7, does not feature the Bad Batch at all. The clone conspiracy features only the wider issues affecting the entire clone army. There's no Bad Batch in it. The only other episode within the first 3 seasons that does not, or the first season and this season, is episode 3.
I liked it.
Rex takes Chuchi to the garage owned by the Martins,
Martez sisters.
the Martin sisters. It was established in season 1, and the decommissions, whatever episode that was, that Rex and the sisters had been working together.
I just want to Chris's comment. Was Senator Chimichanga and Omega the same voice actor?
Senator Chimichanga.
I straight up looked at CJ. I was like, Senator Chimichanga? And he's like, Tucci.
Yeah, Chuchi was voiced by a man.
What?
Wasn't the same person. I was looking it up. I was looking at it earlier.
And Emperor Enchilada. Captain Tamale.
This is also the first episode that had Bail Organa in the Bad Batch.
Yep.
The mystery sniper is not named in the end credits of this episode. All we know is his name is Clone X. That's all information we have on this guy. We don't know anything else about him, which is kind of cool because it makes him very mysterious. And the chick, the disgraceful Kaminos Senator Hellbra, first appeared in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and she was murdered. But she magically appeared back in this episode, and she's dead.
Do you know what my theory is on that mysterious Clone X guy? I think they're going to have like some Captain America thing where like, oh, like they were creating a strain of super soldiers. Like it could be some Captain America Winter Soldier bullshit. Disney's gonna copy Marvel. Watch.
So every time like a character canonically dies and then comes back, and it's like, oh, somehow they lived. I always have Buck from Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Did you die? Yes, but I lived.
Oh yeah.
All right, now we're going to take this little quiz. We're going to see how much we actually know about the Bad Batch.
This is going to be tough. I'm going to be honest with you.
Just accept the fact that CJ's going to win.
Oh, yeah.
Take the quiz.
I believe that.
What is the name of Clone Force 99?
The Marauder.
Oh, yeah, I actually knew that one.
It's actually, that's incorrect, Disney. It's the Havoc Marauder.
He
Get it
said
right.
that like you were such an idiot for asking.
Who is the oldest member of the
Hunter?
squad?
No, Omega.
Who is the oldest member of the squad?
In technicality, it would be Omega.
Crosshair.
That's not even an option.
Oh.
In technicality, it would be Omega.
But isn't he technically the oldest, though? Like, let's be honest.
No, it would technically be Omega because all of the clones were
aged.
sped up. Yeah, they're
They have
aged
age
up.
acceleration.
Omega is the
That's
only
right,
one
you're
that
right.
is aged
Omega.
correctly.
Okay,
Right.
Omega. Yep, you're right.
Right.
Which two characters from Star Wars Rebels appeared in season 1?
Kaden Jarrus and Harrison Dula.
Yes.
Or it's Caleb Doom, my bad.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He changed his name due to the fact that was his Jedi name. He changed his name so he wouldn't be, found out.
Yep, Landy, you're right. Omega was there when they were born. Caleb Doom and Harrison.
She says,
right.
she even quotes it. She remembers it.
Okay, which character previously seen in Star Wars The Clone Wars has not appeared in the series so far? Chewbacca, Gungi, Rex, Tarkin.
Chewie.
Yes. How do Omega and Wrecker celebrate a mission accomplished?
Intel mix.
Cracking open an ice cold beer.
It's looking like it's beer 30.
Yeah.
We at work will sit there and when we're done with the day and we're going to call it early, but kind of, not really. You'll hear one of the guys, it's 5:00 somewhere, right? And we all just down the ladder we go.
So they share
Mantail
some
mix.
Mantail mix. Okay.
I don't even know what that is.
Which bounty hunter once kidnapped Omega?
Fennec
Well,
and Cad Bane.
I
Fennec.
think it's more Cad Bane.
Well, Fennec technically saved Omega from Cad Bane. It was Cad Bane because of Toto. Because
I guess
Toto
it's
was
true.
there.
You just
We'll go
like
Cad
Toto.
Bane.
Shush.
I do like Toto. Cad Bane.
I forgot about those episodes. Dang.
Cad Bane. Correct.
And then Fennec kidnapped her away from.
Which
Because
Reg has
Fennec tries
appeared
to
in
kidnap
this
her, but then she gets away. Hunter saves her. Then she tries to kidnap her again, but Cad gets to her first.
Yep.
Which
Isn't it
Reg has
Wolf?
appeared in the series?
Nope.
Wolf,
No.
Wilco, Tups, or
Wilco.
Five?
Wilco.
Wilco.
Who the
Tup
fuck is
dead.
Wilco?
Wilco is the
Tup
dude
is-
that fucking, what's his face, shoots in the face.
Tup is dead, and so is Fives.
And
And
Wolf,
Wolf
we haven't
hasn't.
seen Wolf.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Wolf. It's Wilco. How many
Original
original
members.
members of Clone Force 99 remain?
Remain
3.
where? Because technically we're at 3, but remain
It's
alive?
technically 3.
5. Yeah. Well, when was this
Re-
made?
remain in the
Well, was
if
this
it was-
made
if
before
it's
or
in
after
the-
this episode?
if it's
So you have Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, and Crosshair. Crosshair leaves 3.
3? Y'all think it's 3? I think it's
Yeah.
4. Because Crosshair is gone. He's not dead.
I think it's talking
What do you
about
mean?
remaining. I think it's talking about remaining in the unit.
Oh.
All right, let's go with 3. Let's see what happens. Yep. 3.
What
y'all
up,
are right.
though?
Which
Which
planet
planet-
first appears in Star Wars prequels has not been in the series? Serrano, Kashyyyk, Kamino, Naboo.
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 Boo.
That was
Boo. I
easy.
knew that one. I'm not that bad.
That was easy as shit, though. like,
one
they ain't
more.
been on Naboo.
Wanda Sykes. Wait. Sorry. I just
I
guessed
don't
at this
recognize any of these names. I'm sorry.
point. I'm thinking
Ashley
it's Ben
Eckstein
Schwartz.
has been on.
Yeah, David Tennant hasn't been
David
on
Jeffrey
here.
Tennant been on
Epstein.
here. Christian Slater was on the first season.
I'm gonna go with Ben.
Yeah, it's Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz.
Yep.
Look at that. 100%.
Woot woot.
Make you miss battling clankers, doesn't it? You have made quick work of this quiz and prove you know the Bad Batch as well as Omega knows her brothers. Or leave the clones behind and test your knowledge of Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. Whatever. So we did pretty good, guys. Hey, everybody in the chat, y'all did great. I know we kind of went fast on that, so sorry. And I think, we got some news. What do we got for news? Because there ain't really much on news. Everything's about Jedi Survivor because they dropped 9 minutes of fucking gameplay.
Oh,
IGN.
man.
That's every fucking thing that has to do with store news.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically that. But there is one thing that I wanted to say. So, CBR posted a thing, and basically they said, Bad Batch ain't shit. They're garbage. Scar Squadron puts the Bad Batch to shame. Now, if you guys don't know who Scar Squadron is Special Commando Advanced Recon Squad, and they're not clones. They are stormtroopers. They all can shoot. They all got special abilities, and they're all dope as shit in the comics. But I think they're crazy as shit to think that a bunch of like 6 or fucking 5 stormtroopers or however many is better than Clone Force 99. They all can shoot. They all got like special abilities. They're smart, all kind of weird shit, strong. But if you put them up against Clone Force 99, they would get their ass whooped.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Crosshair alone would whoop their ass. Crosshair's so good. Like, come on.
So whoever this author is that put this shit out, you're full of shit. Like, you need to go back and check your information. I'm just putting that out there. I will call you out.
Okay, so
He's like, I'll go to
Chris,
battle for this.
Chris asked if anybody's seen the music video for "Watch the World Burn" by Falling in Reverse. No, I have not. Although
Yes,
I
I
love Falling in
have.
Reverse. It had a whole First Order Starkiller base scene.
Yep.
I'll have to watch it.
It's
Also,
actually a good song.
I finished. I finished Clone Wars. I'm officially caught up on that. I just need to watch Rebels now, apparently. I ranted to CJ about Clone Wars. It was,
Wow.
and I texted CJ actually because he was at work, and I texted him, and he's like, "Oh my God, stop." I was like, "You're telling me that a clone found the chips in their head on Kamino? No one thought Order 66 would happen. They find out Darth Tyrannus is Dooku from a crackpot. No one thought Order 66 was happen. And then they find out Dooku as a Sith was behind the creation of the clones, and everyone was surprised Order 66 happened. The Jedi are supposed to be this genius, all-powerful cult, and they couldn't even add 2 and 2 together. And not only did they find out Tyrannus was Dooku from a crackpot, they were surprised. He's a Sith, of course. He's going to have a Darth. Did they just wake up and think, hey, I think this is how this religion goes? He was everywhere Tyrannus was. He had ties to everything they found Tyrannus behind. How do you keep adding 2 and 2 together and getting a stick? I was like, the Jedi are a joke. And another thing, Yoda was always suspicious of Palpatine. If he's the oldest and the wisest of the Order, as Mace claims, how in the actual fuck did they not have a moment of, hey, bad guy, he's not being kosher, fire the flame of Gondor, help?
Because I think that Yoda knew what the outcome was going to be no matter what. So he just let it play out the way it was supposed to play out.
I think he figured out the outcome when he went on that little side quest that we saw in Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, and that wasn't like
That's why I just don't like Clone Wars.
That and what was his name? The Conehead guy.
I haven't watched Clone Wars to not
Yeah,
like
dude,
Clone
Monday.
Wars.
No. But you got to be living under a rock to not know some of the stuff that comes from Clone Wars, and that automatically makes me not want to watch it because I'm like, well, that just doesn't fit.
If you
into
watch the
Star Wars.
entire
Like,
Clone
they're rewriting
Wars,
a lot of it.
if you look at, like, a lot of times people don't understand it. When you watch the Clone Wars, all you got to do is like read the very first fucking little thing that they have at the beginning of every episode, and it explains what's gonna happen. Like it explains what's going on with Yoda. Yoda knew. Yoda just knew there wasn't nothing that he could do about it. That's why he had to go meet with Bane, and Bane explains it to him. And then he had to go meet with the one chicks that are flying around that's all the same being as the Force that explains how things is going to go. There's nothing he can do to stop it. Even though he tries, there's nothing that he can do to stop it. So
yes,
he just
Chris.
kind of lets it go. If you really look at the underlying meaning behind the episodes, they have like a little saying that pops up at the beginning of every episode of the Clone Wars. If you listen to that saying, it explains what's going on. It's the underlying meaning of what's going on within the episode. So when you pay attention to it, it explains to you exactly what's happening. He knew that he had a thing. If Yoda tried to save Anakin, he was going to fail. Because there's a scene where Anakin's falling and Yoda has a choice. Kill Palpatine or save Anakin. And he can't do both. And basically that what happened. He knew he couldn't save Anakin and kill Palpatine, so he had to make a choice. And that's what the choice that he made at the end of Revenge of the Sith. He went to go try to kill Palpatine. He knew that he was not going to be able to save Anakin. In the dream, or in the little vision that he has during the time of, you know what I'm saying, when that was going on in Clone Wars, where they're standing on this thing, he saves Anakin. He reaches out to save Anakin, which causes Palpatine to, no matter what, he was going to lose. It explained what the whole thing was about. And then that's when he knew that he had to face the dark side, go to Dagobah, and face the Dark Cavern to be there in order to train Luke.
Well,
It explains it all in the
another-
Clone Wars.
That was another thing also, because he had that he heard Qui-Gon's voice, and you know, all of the dark stuff that's happening. And what was Conehead Jedi's?
Kid Undy Mundy.
Yeah, that.
I have said it 3 times to her because
What
she's
was
asked me twice.
Conehead guy's name? That was
Yeah.
funny. I'm
Kid
sorry.
Undy Mundy.
And but like they're all sitting there and they're like, oh yeah, no, everything that's happening, oh yeah, that's not Sith, that's not Sith, when it clearly is. No, he starts hearing Qui-Gon's voice, and that's when he's like, oh, that's the Sith.
Yeah,
What?
Qui-Gon Ben told him what was going on. Qui-Gon is part of the Force. That's why he had to go on his little journey.
Yeah, and
If you sit back and you watch the Clone Wars and you understand the underlying meaning of, like, that's why they had them little fucking sayings at the beginning of every episode. It's explaining to you what the actual episode is. Then you watch the episode and you understand what's going on, like what it's trying to teach you, where it's leading to. The only thing that really kind of didn't really make a lot of sense was season 7, but that was just because it was weird. It didn't really flow with the. I mean, it did, but it didn't. The rest of them all explain everything that's going to happen. Like, that's what they're there for. They're explaining what's happening in between Clone Wars and Revenge of the Sith, all the way up to Order 66. It explains it. That's all they're there to do. They're just there to explain. You meet the characters that are going to come up later on in new stuff and different things. You got to learn more about the culture of Star Wars within the Clone Wars, but that's really what the basis of them is, to meet the culture, to meet all these different people. Then Rebels went on to explain more of the Force, learning about the Force, because we didn't really even get a lot of that even in Clone Wars. We didn't get a lot of Force explanation. You know what I'm saying? Clone War or Rebels, they explain more of the Force. That's why you have the Bendu. That's why you have Kanan trying to learn about being a Jedi so he can teach Ezra. You have Ahsoka coming and explaining how the Force works. You have Yoda. You have all these different characters within Rebels because it explained more of the Force. Clone Wars explained the galaxy. Rebels explained the Force. Then we go into like Bad Batch. Bad Batch is explaining the transition to the dark times. Then we got Kenobi. Kenobi explains after the dark times has already kind of got set in. It's, 10 years later, what's really happening, what's going on. Then we go in, we have Andor. Andor is explaining the end of the dark times, or going into New Hope. Before we go into end of all that, then you just have the sequel trilogies. It's just nonsense. So, basically each part has its own set directive, and it's an overall explanation of the time period and what we are what George really wanted us to get to know. And the Mandalorian kind of is basically showing us what's going on within the galaxy after the fall of the Empire, and how the galaxy is kind of like in even though the New Republic is in control, the Empire is still there. You got the remnants of the Empire. You got people trying to, and it's more like a Western. It's like shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Just depending on what planet you're on is what's going on before the set of the First Order. That's what each thing is setting you up for.
So Chris said, I never understood how Kenobi knew who Sidious was when he spoke with Ahsoka in season 7. Like, I didn't think any of them knew his name, yet Kenobi knows and does nothing.
Well, if you look at the deleted scenes from Attack of the Clones, he says that in the deleted scenes, Dooku says, "My master Sidious." They just cut it out. And then I think there's a place somewhere in the Clone Wars, I can't remember which episode it is, that somebody says Sidious. So he knows the Dark Lord's name is Sidious, but they just don't know who he is at that point.
That's Kenobi said that he knew who Sidious was, so... Lenny says, how about how many secret meetings Kenobi and Anakin walked in over the years? They knew, but they didn't do anything because they couldn't do anything. But to be fair, Sidious used Night Sister's magic to cast confusion and haze over the Jedi using the Sith's shrine under the temple.
And there's a lot of different things. You got to understand that was one of the first techniques that Bane learned. If you go back to the Bane books, he learned to use the Force to block his dark side things. And then he teaches it to Xana. He teaches it to Xana. Xana goes into the Jedi Temple. This is the second person that's figured out how to do this shit. She goes into the Jedi Temple and plays the part of a Padawan for like a week. She's just there. It wasn't until her cousin recognized her. Like she was in there and the Jedi didn't even know about it. Palpatine, you got to understand, this has been something that's been taught since Bane all the way to Palpatine, how for them to master dark side nature. And so you got it's hard for an average Jedi, but there's several times within the movies and in the Clone War that Yoda gives Palpatine this like weird look, like he knows, that this dude is like bad, but he can't prove it. And then I think by the time it was at the point where he really knew, like Qui-Gon was telling him in his ear, like, hey man, that dude's the Sith Lord, it was too late. No matter what he did, the shit was going to fall into place. Well, Anakin was going to turn to the dark side, and Palpatine was going to either rise, and he figured it. He was going to be better to defeat Palpatine if Anakin was already turned to the dark side.
Honestly,
and that's why he waited till then.
If I was Yoda, I wouldn't have put as much as Palpatine requested Anakin. If I was Yoda,
like, fuck you.
Yeah, right. If I was Yoda, who we can tell already had all of these like second guesses and all of that about Palpatine, like I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have looked at Mace and been like, "Hey, I need you to go be his like bitch for a little bit."
Well, this is the thing too. Yoda didn't know that at the time that he allowed Obi-Wan to. Yoda says it a lot of time. The shroud of the dark side. He didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know what was going to happen until season 6 of the Clone Wars. So he didn't know what was going to happen at that. He didn't know that Sidious was the Dark Lord of the Sith. He didn't know he was the Sith Master yet. So when he allowed him to be trained, he was unaware of these things at this time. Because you got to understand too, Qui-Gon, it took time for Qui-Gon to learn how to talk through the Force and how to be a Force ghost and stuff like that. We don't see that all the way. Yoda doesn't even explain none of that until the end of Revenge of the Sith, and this is after the Clone Wars. Now, in the Clone Wars, he says that there's a couple places where he hints that he heard him or he hears something, but there's still the shroud of the dark side over him. So he wasn't seeing clearly. That's why Yoda left. And if you go back and you even look in the Old Republic and in the High Republic and stuff, Yoda left quite a few times to go on like these journeys to find information, to learn stuff from the Force. So Yoda's not all-knowing. He's not a god in the Force. I mean, he's still just a being, but it takes time for him to realize these things. And that's the good thing about, especially from 4, 5, and 6 in the Clone Wars, and even part of 7, it explains a lot of stuff that's going on in the time that leads up to the point that Palpatine takes over, or that before Order 66 happens. Yoda knew that all the Jedi, he couldn't save the Jedi. He couldn't save that. He knew that he had to save himself. That's why he had to fight his dark side self, is because he had to learn about conquering and his fear of the dark side for him to go to Dagobah and be able to stay there and wait for Luke, because he had to go somewhere where the dark side was strong at in order to stay hidden because of how strong he was in the Force. He knew Palpatine would know where he was at. So the only way he could stay hidden is he had to go somewhere to the dark side. You can't go to the dark side if you're still being challenged by the dark side. So Yoda had to go face his dark side self. He had to face the dark side. He had to face the idea that he was not in control. He couldn't save everybody in order for him to go to Dagobah and build his strength within the Force in order to teach Luke when the time was going to come. That's what the Clone War teaches you so much if you pay attention to what the underlying meanings. And the underlying meanings are described at the beginning. It tells you what to look for in the episode. And it wasn't until like the third time that I watched the entire Clone Wars that I realized that that's what it was doing. It's telling you what the show is going to teach you. But everybody gets caught up in the actual animation, and they don't look at what's going on. They don't look at the underlying meanings in each one of the episodes. Dave is excellent at that shit. Dave and George is good at like putting the meanings out there of stuff, but then covering it up in whatever's going on, the live action or the animation or whatever, the story, it covers up what the underlying meaning is. That's why they put that little thing at the beginning of each one of the Clone Wars episodes, so you could get that little underlying meaning. But you had to pay it, because I didn't realize. I just watched them and was like, oh, this is dope. You know what I'm saying? I didn't realize until the third time, like, what is this little dumb saying? Why they got these dumb sayings? I started paying attention to what them sayings were, and I was like, holy shit, this is explaining everything. Oh, man. And then you watch the episode, you know the underlying meaning behind it. Now you're looking for that underlying meaning. And then you're like, oh, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Oh, now everything fits together. But it took me, like I said, I watched it 3 times before I understood. I started to get it. Like,
that's a long ass show to get through 3 times.
I watched it 4 or 5 times. I watched Rebels like 10 times. Because Rebels teaches you about.
I watch Clone Wars like crazy. I'll sit there and rewatch it 10 times over. Like I think right now with Tori,
I will literally watch. I will watch the Phantom Menace, the Attack of the Clones. Watch Clone Wars the movie. Watch the entire Clone Wars 7 seasons. Watch Rebels, or watch New Hope. Or Andor, or before Andor, now we got Andor, but before Andor, Rogue One. I would literally watch everything in chronological order all the way to the end, and then go back and do it all over again. Like,
do it again next week.
It takes usually longer than that, but I haven't watched it as much now as I used to, because I'm just too busy. But before, I used to watch it, at least I would watch it once a year. I would go through it and take a couple weekends and just watch all the Star Wars. Just start from finish, from start all the way to the end. Watch it all.
All right. Well, I don't think I'll ever watch Clone Wars that much. I'll start with 1.
It just... Honestly, it's just hard to get through.
I've still seen like the later seasons. It's just the earlier ones I don't really remember all of them.
It's still hard to get through episode 1 through 3, but I know the underlying meaning, so it makes more sense. When you're just watching something like that very first episode of Clone Wars, makes complete sense now. But the first time I watched it, I was like, dude, this is just stupid. You got Yoda, this little green old guy with 3 clones, trying to fight against the entire clone army. You got Ventress sitting there talking shit to the Tigerian king, or whatever you say their name, king. Like, dude, the episode is not fucking interesting at all. But the underlying meaning behind it is how your size does not matter when you have the Force. It's teaching you about the Force.
Right.
And how his small stature does not have anything to do with how powerful the Force is. And when you work together, anything can be accomplished. It's like the key theme to the Rebel Alliance. You know what I'm saying? As long as we do it together, we will succeed. And then when you go back and you look at some of the things that had to do with the Rebels, you go back to, like New Hope and stuff, and you look at what the Rebels is, episode 1 of Clone Wars makes perfectly good sense. But see, that's why it's important to watch everything, because you have characters that pop up later on in the movies and in stuff, and they make a lot of sense because you've seen these characters before. You know what they stand for. You know who they are. That's what the Clone Wars was supposed to do. Because when you see them later on and you don't know who they are, the shit doesn't make any sense of what's going on with them. Like, who is this dude? Well, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
I got through season 1 through 3 because it was kind of a little bit slower. Not that I didn't like him, it just was a little bit slower for me. I would put it on honestly while I was at the gym. Like I always start my gym out with a treadmill, and so I would sit there and I'd watch almost a full episode. It just depended on how long it took me to get to what my goal was. I would sit there on the treadmill and I would watch Clone Wars. And that's how I got through like the boring seasons, essentially.
The Clone Wars, like I said, it's all about learning the galaxy. Because even in fact, it said right here, the hard thing to understand with the Clone Wars is that it's not in chronological order. The episodes are scattered up in the timeline. Mm-hmm. And that is true. Because they don't need to be in chronological order, because they're teaching you about the galaxy. It's all about, like, the Clone Wars is mostly about character development, learning about the character, learning about the galaxy, learning about what's going on during the Clone Wars in the galaxy. That's what it's there for. It's not till like after episode 3 where it kind of gets more in a direct, or a season 3 that it gets more in a direct line of what's going on. And probably the most to chronological order of what's going on is season 7. But you gotta, like, you wouldn't understand what's going on if you didn't see season 3, or yes, is it season 3 is when Ahsoka leaves, or season 5? You're not going to understand what's going on with Ahsoka. You're not going to understand what's going on in season 7 if you don't watch that. You're not going to understand what's going on in Bad Batch if you ain't watched season 7, because that's where they introduced the Bad Batch. All of these things fit together. They're just jumping around from different points within the overall order, because basically it's the sign of Star Wars. It's the way Star Wars was designed. George Lucas started when he came out with New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And then he came out with the prequels. They continuously use that strategy in the things that they're doing, because they jump around all the time. They're jumping around in between different places because they seen that it worked, so they keep on doing it, which I don't understand. It's like, come on, Disney, if you could get one thing right, that's the one thing that George did fuck up on. Like, why would you start in the middle? But, you know what I'm saying? But they're going to continuously do it. They do it in the books. They do it, like, because they'll jump even in the books. Like, you have Revan, which is the first book in the Old Republic era. Then it jumps 250 years to Deceived. And Deceived isn't even really in the actual timeline. It's just in the timeline if you go by BBY. You know what I'm saying? But it's 200-something years. Like, I want to know what happened to Revan. I want to get more of the Revan story. But they jump to Malgus, which is 200-something years later. So even in the books, even in the legend side of the books in the expanded universe, everybody does it. They jump around and write shit and do shit. Everything's about going here and then jumping to the end and then jumping back to the beginning and jumping over here to the middle. It's George Lucas created that, and it worked. So everybody wants to continue with that strategy. Because, like, you think about it, Andor is set in between, you know what I'm saying? It's in between New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. You got Kenobi set in between there. You got the Bad Batch set in between there. They're really working on this time period right in between here. Then you got Mandalorian after Return of the Jedi. You got Book of Boba Fett after Return of the Jedi. You have Ahsoka after Return of the Jedi. You know what I'm saying? They're filling in these gaps at this point. They know they got these big gaps. There's a lot of stories to tell in between it. Let's tell these stories. And that's what they're doing. And they did it in Rebels. If you really watch Rebels, it isn't linear, because they jump around a lot. You go back to because they jump all the way in Rebels, they jump all the way to where Obi-Wan's an old man when he kills Maul. He's already all gray in there. You know what I'm saying? He's completely gray. So they jump from that point. You know, they jump around a lot and everything. But if you look at the underlying meanings of what the entire saga is trying to tell you, like the saga of the Clone Wars, it's expressing what's going on in the galaxy. You're getting character development of all these different characters. They're teaching you about all these different worlds. So when these worlds pop up in other things, you already have a sense of what's going on. Then you go to like Rebels, a lot of character development, but it really focused a lot on the Force, like Bendu and Yoda, and you know what I'm saying, a lot of the space in between space and stuff like that. They didn't focus too much on that within the Clone Wars. I mean, they have some episodes, they have some arcs, but it didn't really focus on that. It focused more about the galaxy. Rebels focused more on the Force. Then we go into New Hope about conquering the Empire. After that, we go into Mandalorian, what's going on in the galaxy after the conquering of the Empire. All of these things play a major part within the overall story. Because at one point, the story has to come to an end. Hopefully, I'm dead when that happens. Before Disney fucks it up so much that they just get rid of Star Wars. I'll be dead by that time, hopefully. So I don't have to ever see that. But y'all might have to see that. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully they explain everything before I die. Because I would like to know all the information.
Damn it.
Because there's still stuff. I mean, and they still leave gaps in stuff. Like, okay, like right now, one of the biggest gaps is where did Baby Yoda come from? Or Grogu, or wherever you want to call him. Where the hell did he come from? Like that's a big ass gap. But I don't think they're ever going to tell us that gap. They're going to tell us the overall story about where he originated from, because they're not going to tell us about Yoda. You know what I'm saying?
Dave would have to like, especially because of the fact that Dave and George worked together. He wouldn't have to per se, but just being out of respect, he would have to talk to George and be like, "Hey, so this is what we're planning on doing."
Well, George, I mean, out of respect, he might do that, but George is gonna be like, "I don't care, do whatever you want."
No,
I don't think
especially with Yoda's species, like he specifically
he didn't want Grogu.
He specifically left that out, and like there was people constantly asking about it, and he's like, "That's for me to know."
Yeah, he don't want the story to be told. George is done with Star Wars. Like, he don't want anything to do with Star Wars anymore. That's why he sold it. He don't care what they do.
No, he didn't sell it because he didn't want anything to do with it anymore. He sold it because he wanted to be able to focus on the other things, on his daughter and the other ideas that he had bouncing around his head, and he couldn't do that while still trying to build up Star Wars. So he sold it.
But then you sell Star Wars, you don't sell Lucasfilms. Because by selling Lucasfilms, what did George came out with? Name one movie that George Lucas came out with.
So that's what it was he said, he was like, "You're probably never going to see them, but that's okay. That's for my viewing pleasure." He sold Lucasfilms because he wasn't going to waste all of these.
He said he was not making movies no more.
He didn't want to waste all of his employees' times on working on these small little fantasy projects, passion projects that George Lucas had, that he's like, these are never going to make money. Like, these aren't going to do it. And he didn't want to waste all of his employees' times. So he's like, here, you can stay with the company. The company will just move so that I can focus on what my side projects. I don't want to take your time. I don't want to take your income away by working on my small little things. So he has still been creating these small little movies or videos or whatever, but he's still been creating them just on his own time with his own dime.
But
I mean, and he's got plenty of it.
And so he hasn't
my
been
thing
releasing.
is, we haven't seen none of these things.
Because
somebody would have stole it and leaked it.
No,
there would have been a leak. If George Lucas makes anything, guaranteed we're going to get a glimpse of it.
But it wasn't he did all of the stuff for it. He was the one who wrote it, directed it, filmed it, everything. So there wasn't 50,000 employees that one of them could have leaked.
It could be a little indie film with just a camera, him, and a couple
but
people.
Still, a maid would have got it. Somebody would have got a hold of it. We would have seen some type of glimpse if he made anything.
So. A man with that much money? No.
Guaranteed somebody can get a hold of it.
They could, but honestly, if you were to break into George Lucas's private stash, you would probably hide away for the rest of your life because you didn't want the creator after
The man
you.
has more money than God. You will go missing.
No, he ain't even in the hundreds of richest people in the world.
You go to like Skywalker Ranch or his place, and you're immediately arrested. Like, you're not even.
I'm gonna have to send y'all these interviews with George.
George
basically said in some of his interviews, I did not want to make movies no more. I don't want to do it. I sold Lucasfilms, which is everything that had to do with Star Wars, Return of the Indiana Jones, Willow, cartoons. He sold everything. He could have just sold them Star Wars. They offered just to buy Star Wars from him. They didn't even want Indiana Jones and Willow and all that other stuff. They just wanted Star Wars.
Yeah, because
and he said, nope, you have to take all Lucasfilms because I don't want nothing to do with it no more.
Yeah, he sold it because he was trying to focus on his daughter, and then it came to a point where he was like, I'm not wanting to give up on this. There's been thousands of interviews
I watched every single George Lucas interview, and 99% of them that I watched.
Well, apparently not, Kyle, because you haven't seen the ones I'm talking about.
I don't know, because all of them, he's like, hey, I didn't, like, even when they asked him about Grogu, he was like, I didn't even want Grogu. Yoda and Yaddle was supposed to be the only two of their people ever. So they did like all the Mandalorian with this Grogu character that was never supposed to exist in George's eyes. That was never supposed to happen. There was never supposed to be another talking about anybody from that species. When Yoda died, that was it. It was supposed to be the end of it. And then they brought out Grogu. Disney can do whatever they want. If they do go talk to George, if Dave calls up George, it would just be on a friendship thing. It wouldn't be, if he wanted to do it, he could do it. They could do whatever they want.
He wrote a book, and that's when he said, in the book, at that time, I was starting the next trilogy. I talked to the actors, and I was starting to gear up. But I was also about to have a daughter with my wife. It takes 10 years to make a trilogy. Episodes 1 through 3 took from 95 to 2005. In 2012, I was 69. So the question was, am I going to keep doing this for the rest of my life? Do I want to go through this again? Finally, I decided I'd rather raise my daughter and enjoy life for a while. I could have not sold Lucasfilm and gotten someone to run the productions, but that isn't retiring.
No, because he has to be in the production. He knows that. That's why he gave up on everything. That's why he sold it, because he was like, I'm not doing shit. I know he knows him. He put himself in a hospital 3 times because he wouldn't step aside.
That's so he doesn't. And then, further into it, he said that he didn't hate Star Wars. It wasn't an easy decision to make. He went back and forth on it for a while, but he just decided that he wanted to focus.
They offered him 4 years before that.
He wanted to focus on his daughter. Yeah, and if he was making the next trilogy, then he would miss 10 years of his brand new daughter's life, essentially. And
because he couldn't let go. See, he made a choice based on the fact that, what do I love more? Do I love Lucasfilms or do I love my daughter more?
Yeah, and
he made a choice on his daughter.
So in
other interviews, he came out and said, I am so happy I did that because I truly hated doing it. He was like, it made me sick. Every time I made a movie, it made me sick. He was like, I do not know as a person how to step aside and let other people do it. He was like, I can't do that. I'm going to be there. And he was like, and since I know that I'm going to be like that, I can't do it. I had to make a choice. Your own personal health, the health of your family, or Star Wars. And Star Wars wasn't that important to him. And in another interview I watched with what's his name? David Cragen. What the hell's that dude's name? He said he would never film nothing ever again for the rest of his life. He said, I will never film anything for the rest of my life. He was like, I get sick to my stomach when I see a camera. He said he hates everything that has to do about not just Star Wars, but about film production. He says, I hate film production. Everything about it. So basically, when you say you hate film production, you hated being a creator of films.
No, he just didn't like the huge production of it. He just hated it's not necessarily I hate producing movies. I hate making, I hate all forms of filming.
He said it makes him sick to his stomach.
Yeah.
Sick to his stomach to be around anything that has to do with production. That's basically saying you hate filming. You hate anything that has to do with movies, film production, animation, books, anything that has to do with production. He hates it. It makes it sick to his stomach. Because he doesn't want to do it no more. That part of his life is over. He did it. He created 2 of the biggest franchises ever. Star Wars and Indiana Jones are huge. And he sold them. He got rid of a gang. What's his face at Rancho Obi-Wan Kenobi said that he has so much stuff that George gave him. So much stuff that George gave him because he just didn't want it no more. You don't give away everything that you still care about. You don't just give it away.
He did an interview with Paul Duncan, and he said about how much he regrets selling Star Wars. And actually, as I'm reading this, like, he had so many plans. The next trilogy, the Rey trilogy, was actually supposed to be about how Leia, so it featured the return of Darth Maul and Darth Talon. Luke was going to reconstruct the Jedi Order out of the survivors of Order 66, and it was about Leia rebuilding the Republic. It was mainly going to be about Leia, though. It's basically a Leia trilogy. The movies are about how Leia is trying to rebuild the Republic. They still have the apparatus of the Republic, but they have to get it under control from the gangsters. That was the main story. Like, Lucas wasn't officially done with it. He was
and he
just
wrote that
trying
book in
to.
2015.
No, he wrote it in 2020.
In 2020, which right here on George Lucas's website, it says the last book that he wrote was in 2015. His autobiography was written in 2015. That was the last book that he wrote.
Maybe. Well, that previous article had it as 2020, so I don't know if I was reading the article.
So somebody else wrote the article about what he said in
Yeah.
2015. Well, a lot of things have changed since 2015.
These were my kids. All the Star Wars films, I love them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved with them, and I sold them to white slavers that take things and ...
Yeah.
Wow. Well, on that happy note, we've gone pretty off track. I think it's. Is there anything else?
I think that's it.
I think that's it for
we
today.
all rated the Bad Batch. We all liked the
Bad
episode.
Batch is awesome.
I like the fact of. I wish they had more episodes like this with no Jedi. You know, I'm starting to get to be this no Jedi person. I like to see no Jedi. I just want to see Sith and everything.
Well, that's how I've always been. I've always thought that the Jedi were extremely hypocritical. Like, even when I was reading the Book of the Sith and seeing all of the notes that, like, Mace and Yoda and Luke all put in there, like, it was all very hypocritical, where they would put these little anecdotes and being like, the Jedi would never. And I'll be like, bitch, you do that all the time. You just have some fancier name for it.
All right. Well, I guess that's it for today. We are doing the live watch party of Attack of the Clones on February 19th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 9:30 a.m. Pacific Time. So it's like the 4-hour time difference. So just whatever time zone you're at, look for that. If you want to join us,
Yeah.
you have to come to YouTube first about 10-15 minutes prior to the show. That's where we'll give out the special link in the chat to everybody, and we'll also put it in probably social media and stuff like that, and then have
I'll
it in
drop
there.
it on the Instagram stories and the Facebook stories and all of the stories.
So the links will be out there so everybody can get on to watch that, which we will be on Saturday. So you'll see us this Saturday, and then we have next Wednesday, and then the following Saturday. So we still have 3 episodes before we get to there. But other than that, I think that's all for today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, the bell notification button, and give this video a like, because that's how the algorithms put us out there. And other than that, remember, stay outrageous, and may the Force be with you.
And since CJ isn't here, hit the button!
Thank you for tuning in to LSR. If you've enjoyed the show, consider subscribing so you can be notified when new episodes are released. If you would like to be a guest on the show or just want to give us some feedback, feel free to email us. You can also reach out to us on all major social media platforms. LightSaber Radio is produced by Pickfilm Media and is a Swaycast original, starring Garrison Turcotte, CJ Elliott, and Kyle McDaniel. And don't forget to join us next time for more adventures in a galaxy far, far away.